I just saw recently your video talking about Super Nintendo games in your collection and how you ended up like having to sell some games, and I commented in there. I was like, man, I feel that because I had to sell a lot of games early on, and that's where this kind of started, was just that conversation there.
I had to sell a lot of my games whenever I was in college, and it came out, and I was pretty financially strapped, and I had to sell quite a bit of my games, unfortunately. So it's been a struggle, to get them back. It's definitely been a struggle to get them back and to try to hunt them down. And whenever you do hunt them down, they're kind of crappy quality, if you know what I mean. They have like stickers on them, and they're kind of gross, and it looks like somebody spilled a Coke on them and all that, and it just looks a hot mess. But you have to get what you can.
Yeah. So what kind of games did you have prior to this? Like, did you get these games as like Christmas presents growing up or birthday presents? What are we talking about here as far as like what you had growing up?
We're talking about a lot. I've talked about this before, but I grew up in very rural Georgia, and there really wasn't a lot to do in rural Georgia. So it was pretty much playing a lot of games. My father was in the Air Force, and my mother was a homemaker. So we weren't exactly rolling in the dough or anything. But my uncle at the time, whenever we were 8 years old, my uncle had turned 18. And he went away to college, and my grandmother sent me and my brother all of his games. We're talking about 80 Nintendo games that she sent. Like, we're talking all the Marios, the Zeldas, Balloon Fight, Duck Hunt, Mega Man's, Rhaegar, everything, anything and everything under the sun, RC Pro-Am, all this stuff.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's all kind of gone now.
Oh yeah, man. Like,
yeah.
I grew up with basically a handful of games. Like in my early formative gaming years, I had my first experience of playing video games, I think, was at my daycare. We actually had three arcade machines. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then when you were sick, you got the special treatment of being put in the upstairs room that had the NES, and they had all kinds of games there. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I gotta get a Nintendo now.
Yeah.
So Christmas rolls around, and then, it was one of those things where gradually for Christmas and birthdays, we'd get like Mario 3, Ninja Turtles 3, Manhattan Project. Oh, that one's one of my favorites. And Little Nemo Dream Master. No, that was just a rental. That was just a classic rental. But so yeah, growing up, I had like a handful, but unfortunately, I don't have any of those that I grew up with because, well, I guess in a way, it wasn't that I sold them, but my sister moved out and she sold them. She sold the
bitch.
I know. She sold my video game and her video games because they were like communal video games. But yeah, I'm still a bit miffed about that.
I remember that whenever we got Mario Brothers 3, we were the first people in our neighborhood to get Mario 3, and my brother and I brought it to school. And well, actually, no, my brother brought it to school, and I wasn't aware that he brought it to school. And then he pulled it out on the bus out of his backpack. And then he gave it to the kid next to him, who then gave it to the kid in front of him, who gave it to the kid in front of him, who gave it to the kid in front of him. And it was like passing around the bus. And I'm like freaking out back there. I'm like, oh my, we didn't just to play this stupid game. And now it's going all the way around the bus, and somebody's going to take it, and somebody's going to steal it, and somebody's going to, I was like, what in the world? And I thought like the bus driver was going to take it. Thankfully, we got it back. And I was freaking out. We never bought a game to school again.
Oh my God. No doubt. I mean, that would have started a mob.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in also pretty rural, like a town of like 30,000 back at the time in Kansas. So probably not too dissimilar from rural Georgia, but
well, mine was about 1,000, but okay.
Okay, that's a bit more. That's a bit more rural. Yeah. Okay, so you ended up having to sell a lot of your games. Like, I guess, is there like a biggest regret that you've had to get rid of? Like, is there one thing? What's that?
We are of a certain age that I remember whenever eBay first became a thing. And I was like, oh, well, this will make buying and selling stuff so much easier. But at the time, I didn't have any money to buy anything, so I just sold stuff. I didn't know about price comparison or, setting a bid minimum or anything else like that. Um, so I was like, you know what? I have these NES Dragon Warrior games.
Oh
And
no.
look at them. They are still with their box because I love them. And they still have their instruction manual because I read them. And they even had little things like this, the Dragon Warrior 4 guidebook that you had to send away for. So then I was like, you know what? I just want to get rid of them all to get some money. So I'm going to sell Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 and 3 and 4
Oh my
on
God.
eBay.
Oh no.
You want to know how much I got for them?
Oh, hurt me. How much?
$42.
Oh my God. When? When was this?
Oh, it had to have been like 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts big time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was bad.
That was
bad.
some guy's luckiest day of his life, though. You know that, right? Some other
Oh,
guy.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, that's terrible.
I mean, and then both of my Breath of Fires, gone. Both my Lufias, gone. Both my Tales of Destiny 2, gone. The entirety of my Game Boy collection and Game Boy Color collection, gone. It's just like, oh my God.
Oh man, I am sorry. I am sorry to
Yeah.
hear that.
What about yourself?
Well, so yeah, after my sister sold off all of our NES stuff, I still collected a lot of stuff for myself. I had my Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which I ended up, I actually, because I only had a few games and that was a pretty poor family. I mean, relatively speaking at the time. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, nobody was truly poor because we had a good economy, right?
Yeah.
But back then, it's like, so you want a different game? Well, what you do is you take it to the game shop, and they will take yours and trade. So I actually traded out Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which I've got a story about that later. But I traded that out, and the guy was like, "Here, this is something that I think you'll probably like." And it was for Link to the Past plus I think like $20. I got a copy of Earthbound.
Hey!
Best trade in the history of trade deals
no
ever.
kidding. That's great. That's
So,
awesome.
Luckily, that is something that I actually kept for the entirety of my growing up. But eventually, when I moved out of the house, I found out that things are expensive, and you got to make rent. You can't just not pay rent, and you got to eat. You can't just not eat. In order to, make ends meet, we ended up selling off a lot of things. Well, I say we, but it was really my decision. Ended up selling off a lot of GameCube RPGs. I had Baten Kaitos, the first and second one, Tales of Symphonia, which at the time was a very expensive RPG on the GameCube. Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time Master's Quest. There's two of them. I had both of those Legend of Zelda, like the collector's boxes that are both
because that
pretty
one's
expensive.
really expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I didn't get a whole lot for them, to be totally honest. Because I mean, when you take them because at the time that was my only option, was like take them to the game shop, and they're like, I'll give you $350. Like,
God, oh God.
Yeah.
The thing is though, I remember whenever I was a kid, and it was a big outing. It was a big to do to leave our little teeny tiny town and to go to big old Kennesaw where they had a mall. And that was a thing. They had a mall. Oh my God. So, we would go to the mall, and Daniel and I, my brother, we would kind of take some games that we didn't like or were kind of done with, and we'd put them into a grocery bag, and we'd go down to software, etc., and we trade some games in so that we could buy other games, because it's not like we had an allowance. We didn't have anything, All we had was what the trade-in was. So my mother shopped at Macy's, and we are over there trading away our childhood to get a different game,
Yeah.
So it was the same sort of thing.
And it's a total crapshoot as to whether or not you'll actually like it, because they'll maybe if you're lucky, they'll plug it into the console and you'll get to play 5 minutes of it. So you know what happens in the first 5 minutes of Earthbound, by the way?
Not a whole hell of a lot.
Yep. Not a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah.
It's very, very important distinction there. We'll come back to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So, whose games were these? Were they kind of like My Family, where it's just like everybody's games as the family's
Yeah,
games?
it was pretty much family games. It was my brother and I's games because they were they were sent to us by my grandmother, so they were sent to both of us. And then we had our own games that we would get for like Christmas or birthdays, and those were our games. Although we pretty much shared them back and forth, but kids being how they are, and kids being terrible, and I'm sure you probably have a story with your sister. I remember that it was my birthday, and I must have been 12 or 13 years old, and the first game that my brother and I beat was Contra for the original NES, and we beat it with a Konami code because you get 30 lives and it's really
Yeah.
easy.
Mm-hmm.
So Super C had come out, which is Contra 2.
Ooh, good
So we
one.
went to Toys R Us, and I got Super C for my birthday, even though I really didn't want Super C. I wanted an RPG. But Daniel was like, you should get this, you should get this. Remember how much fun we had with this, blah, 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 blah. So I got it, I took it home, and I was like, well, I'm gonna only play it. You're not gonna get to play it. And I went to sleep with it under my pillow, because I'm like, you're not gonna get to play it at all. So I was such a bitch.
Terrible.
I know. I'm a horrible human being. What can I say?
Children generally are the worst human beings there could possibly be, right? I mean,
Exactly.
it's a stage that most of us grow out of, I think.
Yeah.
So how did you end up with a lot of these RPGs that you ended up having to sell later in life? Like, was it just your brother lost interest in games, or?
Yeah, pretty much. My brother was much more interested in girls, of course, and he wasn't really interested in games. Whenever the SNES kind of was done,
Mhm.
he went for the N64. I went for the PlayStation. I wanted to go wherever Square was going. So,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII, all that kind of stuff. I was into that. Daniel was like, oh, well, we've done NES, we've done SNES. N64 is going to be fantastic. It has Zelda, it has Mario, it has all that. And he got that. And believe me, if there's one way to fall out of love with video games, it's playing the N64, because that system sucked.
Yeah, I mean, it was mind-blowing at the time, but like when you want RPGs, I mean, yeah. There's a
Yeah.
handful. There's Mario RPG. No, not Mario RPG. There's Paper Mario. Yeah. Very important difference. Paper Mario, which was good. And then Quest 64?
And Hybrid Heaven,
Hybrid
and Eden Chronicles,
Yep.
and Ogre Battle.
Uh-huh. And
So
then
there
if
you
you
go.
and then if you want to count the Pokemon Battle, 1 and 2, or call it Stadium, yeah, Stadium 1 and 2, if you want to count that, you can play Pokemon on your TV. That kind of counts with the transfer pack. But yeah, the 64, it was pretty much of a desert, for RPG
It really
fans.
was.
And I know
really
this.
was.
I know this really well because I went the Nintendo 64 route.
Did you? Oh, you didn't go the PlayStation route?
No, I was dumb. I was dumb as a kid, and I was like, I want Mario 64, and it was fun, and I wanted Star Fox, and I wanted Zelda. I'm a big fan of the Zelda games. So there were some things that I ended up with, but by the end of the console, I only had like 5 games that I cared about.
The only fun that I had on the N64 was playing Killer Instinct. I would play that with my brother, and that was a lot of fun. I remember doing that, and then I remember reading in the Nintendo Power that there was going to be an Earthbound released, an Earthbound 64. I remember reading about that and being all about it. My brother was like, I'm going to get Earthbound 64, and you're not going to get to play it. Guess who never got Earthbound 64?
He never got it? Why not?
I wonder why. What a mystery.
Jeez. Oh man, do you happen to have that copy of Nintendo Power also? Because I know you have a pretty big selection.
Oh god.
I bet that's a really sought after copy.
Oh, it probably is. Volume 98.
No way.
see.
Oh, I've only seen crappy scans from like potato phones of like the small pictures and stuff. Oh man.
Sports. Aha! 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 Earthbound. Wait, where are we at? Earthbound
Oh.
64. There it is. Earthbound 64.
Oh, God,
There that is. You
that
can
is
see the
so
little
awesome.
Mr. Saturn hiding behind a barrel or something right
Oh,
there.
dude,
So,
and
yeah.
there's Goemon 64 as well, right next to that.
Yeah, there is. Goemon 5, it says. Dracula 3D. Quest 64.
It's like a time capsule.
Earthbound 64 already shows tremendous promise. The many screenshots sent to us over the past several months from the development team at EAD only serve to whet our appetites for this unusual epic title. Already we have seen a shadowy forest region, the village of Tazmily, and a great battle that takes place in the desert. We've even met characters such as Ryuka, who wanders the woods, and Duster, who sleeps all day. Like the original Earthbound for the Super NES, Earthbound 64 departs from the fantasy tradition of most RPGs, introduces players to a strange and often humorous world. With Shigeru Miyamoto directing the project, we expect great things. It says release date 1998, completion 40%.
God, 40% complete at that point.
40% complete.
Oh, but it was
There
gonna
we
be an exclusive for the DD though. I think eventually.
Was it?
I think
Was
so.
it?
I think that's what I've heard. I don't know. I could be mistaken, but man, that's so crazy. That would have been wild. That was such an important game for me.
They took what they had and they turned it into Mother 3. I mean, Tazmily Village, Duster who sleeps all day. It's just you've played Mother 3, right?
I have, but not for a very long time. What was your first RPG that kind of like got you into just seeking them out, I guess?
My very first RPG that I ever played was Dragon Warrior for the NES. I remember playing it at my uncle's house, my uncle David's house, who eventually sent us his games. And I was so young, I was probably 4 years old or 5, I don't know. I was very, very, very young. And, well, no, it came out, what, not 89, I think? If it came out in 89, I was 7. So anyway, I was not exactly a good reader. I had to go to resource classes and things like that. I struggled throughout school. In my early schooling, I struggled throughout school. I was eventually became a very good student, but it was mostly because I had vision issues. I was wearing bifocals in 2nd grade, for God's sakes.
Oh wow.
So anyway, I wasn't exactly a strong reader. I remember seeing it and playing it and having a great time with it, though, and it was the motivation that I needed in order to become a better reader, because I was learning to read through Dragon Warrior, and then Final Fantasy came out, and that blew my mind. I thought that the graphics on Final Fantasy were like the best thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. I thought that they were fantastic. So I remember that, and then Dragon Warrior 2 came out, Dragon Warrior 3 came out. I got Dragon Warrior 3 as a gift whenever I broke my arm because some asshole ran me over.
What?
But
No way.
you have no idea. I remember getting Dragon Warrior 4, and this was like after Final Fantasy 2 came out. And my brother was like, "Why do you want Dragon Warrior 4? Look at it, looks so shitty." And I'm like, "Cause it's Dragon Warrior." Like, really? Is this even a question? Like, come on. Like
Smartest kid in your age group. That's for sure. Was he your older brother or younger brother? Oh, he was your older brother. Okay.
Older brother. Just older by 16 months.
He was older, but you were definitely you definitely had your head in the right spot. All about those RPGs early on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Although he was the one who wanted Earthbound. I didn't want Earthbound. He wanted Earthbound.
Why did you not want Earthbound?
Whenever it came time for Christmas and birthdays, like you would get 1 game for your birthday and probably 2 for Christmas. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I was like, I just thought that there was better options out there than Earthbound, because I was looking at my fabulous Nintendo Power that talked all about Earthbound right here, and it just did not look like anything that I had really seen before. It just looked so different, and it had like the little thing that said like, "This game stinks," you know? So I'm like, and it has like the little clay models and I was like, these kids just look stupid. I mean, this guy has a freaking orange stem coming out of his head, for God's sakes, you know? I'm just like, it just looks really weird and really dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brother was like, no, man, this looks awesome. This looks so cool. It looks so different. And I'm like, okay, well, then you put it on your list.
For me, Earthbound was also not exactly what I would call love at first sight, but it is the game that introduced me to being a huge fan of RPGs and going down the RPG rabbit hole. Okay, so I'll go ahead and finish the story that I kind of hinted at earlier. So I traded in Zelda Link to the Past for Earthbound because the guy at the game store said, you know, if I wanted more games like it, this would probably be up my alley.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a pretty big difference, though, in gameplay between Link to the Past and Earthbound. So, you know, you plugged it into the SNES at the time, and I played away for about 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, cool. So it's like, you know, it's Zelda, but it takes place during like a modern era. You know, I went to my sister's room and got a cracked bat. I'm like, oh, cool. So I can like, you know, swing this sword or swing this bat instead of a sword. It'd be just like that, an action RPG maybe. And so, you know, I walked around outside, you know, and there were no enemies, you know, in the first like 5 minutes of Earthbound. So there's no battles. So eventually I'm like, okay, yeah, let's take this. I'm good. We're good to go. Brought it home, and well, I got, you know, to like my first battle, and I'm like, wait, what the hell is this? I'm showed this menu. I don't understand it. I didn't have anything equipped because I didn't know I had to do that. So I just got my butt handed to me by like the first couple of things that I ran into. I'm like, this is dumb. I hate this.
Oh no.
I mean, eventually, obviously, I came to terms, but that was like a long summer of like no other options because I had a handful of games, and we weren't renting anything for summer vacation, and I needed something to do, and I'm like, well, it's just you and me, Earthbound. Let's figure this thing out, and then
let's do it. Let's do it.
And you know, it really did. So I eventually got stuck on the final boss. I actually played through the whole thing, got all the way through it, got stuck on the final boss, and I'm like, you know what I need to do? Grind. I figured this out for myself. It's like, all right, time to grind. All 4 characters, level 99, by grinding out in the end of time, you know, where there's no items you can buy. There's just the one restoration point, and it's just, you know, I didn't have the Sword of Kings, obviously. I didn't have any of the good stuff. It just had the final bat, and we're all robots, and I'm like, I'm stuck. You can't go back anywhere. And at one point, I'm just struggling against the final boss. I'm not going to give spoilers, but by pure accident, I stumbled upon a cutscene that I triggered by doing something a little bit different, and my mind blew up. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing this, and I keep doing this. And eventually, like, by the end of it, I'm like, you know, the game's like showing all these people that I met throughout my entire journey, and it all culminates in this big climactic moment, and I'm like, oh my god, breaks the fourth wall, and it's just, oh my god, this is amazing. And that was it.
I mean, it is such a really good game, I've got to say. It is. I'm sorry that you had to grind so much for no reason whatsoever.
I know.
But I will say this, if you're gonna get stuck for a summer with one game, you picked the right one. It's not like you got stuck with 7 Saga like I did.
Oh god.
There's a reason why I've beaten 7 Saga with all 7 characters, because there was nothing else to do. So.
Right? Oh man. You know, 7 Saga was made by Produce, and they're the ones who made Brainlord, which was another game that I actually did also get stuck with for almost a summer. I never owned it at the time. I just rented it and forgot to return it for a few months. So we had like a $50 late fee.
Oh no, you should have just bought it at that point.
That game I actually have a pretty soft spot in my heart for. It's not great. Yeah, it's not great. It's not fantastic, but it is actually, it's got some really solid redeeming qualities.
You're much more positive about Brainlord than I am. You're like, it's not great, it's not the best thing ever, and I'm over here like, Brainlord.
Yep, but yeah, that was by the same guys as 7th Saga. I guess, do you have a soft spot for 7th Saga? As a result of your time that you know, I think it's another, when I say soft spot, I mean, what's that called? Stockholm Syndrome. That's it.
There we go. We is smart.
Yes, it's Stockholm Syndrome. That's the word I was looking for. got stuck with our captors for a summer and eventually decided.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I like Secret of the Stars because of that
Oh
reason.
man.
I like Beyond the Beyond because of that reason.
We're just spoiled at this point. We've played so many amazing RPGs, and back in the day before you played those things and had that other point of reference, it was a lot easier to enjoy crappy games.
Oh yeah. Like if I was raised now where I could just go on Steam and buy something for 99 cents, like there would be no reason for me to play Beyond the Beyond for 80 hours and really learn to love it. You know what I mean?
What's kind of your preferred way to go about collecting games at this point?
So it used to be I would just go into GameStop and I would look at their little $5 and under basket and grab whatever struck me. Like I was never one to purchase games just for the sake of having games. Like there are some people out there who have shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves of games, but it's like Barbie horse races and Madden 98.
Wait, are you telling me you don't collect the Hannah Montana games?
It's very shocking, I know. But no, like if it's not a game that I want, I'm not buying it.
I used to be one of those people who, but I wouldn't go into GameStop and like pay retail for them. Like it'd be more like I would go thrift store shopping. When I was in Seattle, we had a ton of thrift stores that were amazing for this. Garage sales, we'd go up and just if they had something that looked like it, if they had it for like $1 and it looked like something that maybe I would be interested in someday, like way down the road. Maybe not anytime that, like, maybe it's not an RPG, but yeah, maybe I could play that at some point. Sure, I wouldn't, it's got an anime character on it. That looks like something I might dig. I'll just, for $1, why not? That's how I used to collect. But at this point, it's much more targeted because, well, now I'm living back in Kansas again, sadly. And we don't really have good thrift stores. We have like stuff slightly above what you would throw away. Like that's what we have in our thrift stores over here. And
I have never had any luck at like a pawn shop or anything. People are always like, oh, you can get this and this and this at the pawn shops. I go down there and the only thing that you see at the pawn shops are just like crap, just crap, just junk that nobody really wants.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is like, it depends on what's kind of popular in your area, because if you got a lot of people in your area that and all they play is FIFA or Madden, that's all your store shelves are going to be full of when you go look at the secondhand stuff. But I've had some pretty good luck at pawn shops when I because what I like about pawn shops is you can actually haggle with them. You can be like, oh, these are the 3 games that I want that you have. They're like the only 3 RPGs that they had in the entire store. And you'd be like, sticker price says 20, would you guys do 15 for the 3? And they'll usually work with you, and that's kind of nice.
Whenever I was in college and going to flea markets and things like that, flea markets were a big thing in Georgia, and they would constantly have just tables and tables and tables of the old NES games and things like that. And you could get some stuff there, and then I had to sell them, but whatever. But it was good, but they don't really have that here in Nevada. They just don't. There are some retro game stores here, and I have purchased some things at retro game stores. For example, I got Dragon Warrior 2 not that long ago for one of my retro game stores.
Nice.
But I don't know. They seem to be kind of higher priced as well.
Yeah.
But at least you can get the retro games there, because I have never I'll go into Goodwill or something like that, and I will see rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of crummy movie DVDs, but there's not a single PlayStation 2 game up there or anything, so
I think in recent years a lot of Goodwills have actually been wise to our drive to play those games, and what they've been doing is part of it is scalpers also show up daily and clear them out, but also a lot of them never make it to store shelves, because what they do is they sell them on shop.goodwill.com, because they know that people are going to be willing to pay way more,
way higher,
online, because they'll be seeking it out instead of just putting them on the shelves.
I also have a sneaking suspicion that the people who work there, whenever they get donations of video games, the people who work there are like, I'm not putting this out on the sales floor, I'm going to get this myself. And they
Oh
just put it
yeah.
in their car. I could totally see them doing that.
Let's be real here. If I were to work at a Goodwill, get paid like minimum wage, like
Yeah,
the games that I would find would be worth way more than my crappy like $5 an hour.
exactly. I would be all about it. I mean, like, that would be the only fringe benefit that you would get from working there. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I mean, I
So
know
I
that
do the
they.
same. So I really can't blame
Mhm.
them. I do the same damn thing. So.
I mean, I know that they have policies against that, and so it's probably not as common as that. But I mean, I don't know if there was a collector who was stocking the shelves. I wouldn't be surprised if some things just fell off the back of the truck.
It just mysteriously vanished in the back room. Who knows?
So, have you ever had the collector's dream? You know what I'm talking about? This is something.
Collector's dream.
Yeah, it's something that I've deemed it the collector's dream because I've talked to a few other video game collectors. I know that you've only recently kind of started recollecting those things that you ended up selling off, but people who've been doing it for a long while have, at least the people that I've talked to, also have this dream. I have this dream pretty recurringly, and it's always the best dream ever, which is, you walk into this old store, this old video game shop that hasn't been like seeing much foot traffic for maybe 20 years, and so they have all of these like complete unboxed games from 20, 30 years ago, and you get to go digging through and you find the rare games that you've been looking for your entire life. And it's just like,
Yeah.
have you had that dream yet?
I haven't. No, I
Not
haven't
yet?
had that. But that does sound like a cool dream. I've only started collecting like since the pandemic.
Collecting during the pandemic, that has to be that's especially rough, man, because I mean, you've discovered VGPC.com, video games price
Yeah.
charting, and what do you think? I don't know. I think we might be in a bit of a bubble as far as like video game prices go right now, and I'm really hoping that they collapse so I can start buying them again. But
I agree. I agree. I think that now that the pandemic is kind of going by the wayside, like our governor just got rid of the mask order and all that kind of stuff. I know that California's getting rid of their mask order next month.
Mhm.
So hopefully things are getting back to normal. I have gotten both of my shots. I am fully vaccinated. So I hope that things will get back to normal, and then people will be like, I don't need these stupid video games anymore. I'm going to sell them back. So then I can go in there and whip them up.
Yep.
Just steal them from them.
Yeah. Oh man. So what's like the one thing that you're really wanting to be able to snag at some point? Like if you could get something at a killer deal, say came across it at a yard sale for, a third of what you would normally pay for it. What's that dream? What's that white whale for you to collect
God.
right now?
Probably, I mean, I remember getting all these great SNES games, complete in box, as a kid, and then being like, who needs a cardboard box? Let's just rip that to shreds and open up the game,
Yeah.
They were just seen as disposable back then. But I would love to get my Dragon Warrior games back. They had these amazing instruction manuals, amazing posters. It's just so I was on the Discord channel a couple weeks back, and one of the people on the Discord, his name was the Hoff, and he was at a retro game store, and he came across Dragon Warrior 2, 3, and 4 complete in box, and I'm like, oh my god, and he opened them up and he took pictures of it, and it's just like, when you buy a game now, you open it up and you get a disc. You don't even get a guide. You don't get anything. You get a disc. There's not even a piece of paper. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They had the game. They had the cover. They had the instruction manual. They had a poster. They had an enemy chart with all the stats. They had another, on the opposite side of that, there was a world map. Then they had another chart that had all the spells and what the spells do and all the items and what they do, and pictures of the armor and pictures of the weddings and all this, or the of the weapons and everything. And I'm just like, how did we go from that to this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
I'll tell you how. I mean, because somebody figured out that if they didn't do all that, they could save 5 cents per copy. Because that's all.
I know.
That's all the materials cost, and I mean, some design costs would probably go into that as well. But like 10 cents, 15 cents, heck, $1 a copy. It would just add so much more value. I wish Well, now if you want stuff like that, you got to buy the collector's edition, and they charge,
They charge you an arm and a leg. I
four
know.
times as much for the game.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I love my copies of like Lunar, Silver Star Story Complete, and Eternal
I have
Blue.
it too.
Do
Yeah.
do you have the medallion that came with the second one?
Yes, Lucia's pendant.
Yes. Oh, it is so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's one of the only like collector's editions games that I have, and I love it. And I'm kind of interested in buying more like collector's editions as I go forward at this point, because it's just it's hard to get stuff like that,
It is. Like, I don't want to do it for every single Tom, Dick, and Harry game out there, but like
Yeah.
maybe for like Tales of Arise,
Mhm.
I might buy that collector's edition. You know what I mean? For stuff that's just amazing. That sort of stuff.
It's unfortunate that like there's no way to know in advance if you are going to fall in love with the game until you actually own it and play it.
That's
I
true.
wish that there was a way that you could like buy the game and then go online and buy like the afterwards, buy the collector's edition supplements or something to make it into the collector's edition.
Yeah, kind of like I was talking about with this Dragon Warrior 4 guide, where if you remember, in the back of the instruction manual, that had like a little coupon, and you would send it away, and you would enclose a check for, I think it was $9.95 or whatever it was, and you'd mail it off, and then they would mail you the strategy guide. So yeah, I mean, something like that would be amazing. And don't talk about DLC, because if it's digital, it doesn't exist to me. Like,
Exactly.
I
Same
don't
here.
care.
Same here, man. Same here.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't care about horse costumes. I don't care about any of that junk. So no, I'm not spending. If the game costs $60 and there's another $60 worth of swimsuit DLC, or you get 20 apple gels or stupid. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, give me the feelies. Give me the cloth map and the art book, the hardback stuff, give me the stuff that's gonna take up space on my shelf.
If it isn't tangible, I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree
Definitely.
100%. Huge thank you to Davidvinc for coming onto my channel and having that discussion with me. Super fun guy. Make sure you check out his channel, because we've also got another part to this discussion that happens over on his channel, where we talk about health and fitness and how we maintain our health and fitness. I recently lost like 70 pounds, and I talk a little bit about how I accomplished that. And he's a bodybuilder who has a completely different set of goals and how he works towards that, while we still both spend so much time playing and talking about RPGs on YouTube. And if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you check it out over on his channel, and I will see you guys there. Have a great day, everybody.